Welcome back. Now that you've successfully created your first case study and added it to your portfolio, it's time to talk about using that portfolio to wow potential employers during your next job search. In this video, we'll learn about developing an elevator pitch. Having the portfolio in your resume will help you stand out, but being able to use your portfolio to effectively highlight your skills will make it so much more powerful. When you're discussing the case studies in your portfolio, you'll want to develop an elevator pitch to give interviewers a quick, high-level understanding of your work. Basically, an elevator pitch is just a short statement describing an idea or concept. It should be just a couple of sentences, short enough that you could explain it to someone in an elevator. It's always a good idea to prep your elevator pitch beforehand. Then once the interviewers have that high-level understanding of your case study, you can give concrete examples of your process and how you solved problems in your data analysis before. For example, if an interviewer asks you to talk about how you approach data cleaning, you might highlight your case study to outline how you've cleaned data before. After giving them a quick explanation of the case study, you can describe your process and show them how you successfully completed the analysis. Let's check out our example, Data Partners Real Estate case study, and brainstorm an elevator pitch for it. Earlier, we talked about how the executive summary in this presentation focused on answering the business question. This summary can help us develop our elevator pitch too. We just need to condense this into a couple of sentences. You can also think back to the business tasks you based your case study on to help you decide what context is most important. For example, you could say, in this case study, I used real estate company data to evaluate resale performance, determine trends, and theorize what was causing them. I was then able to develop an action plan based on those findings. Then, if they're interested in discussing these findings in more detail, you can. This is where you can share more about how you reach your conclusion and your recommendations for this company. Or maybe the elevator pitch was all you needed to start explaining your process with the person conducting this interview. The best way to showcase your skills effectively is to remember your audience and what they're interested in. Potential employers and recruiters want to get to know your thought process and your approach to problem solving. This means that when you're discussing the case studies in your portfolio, it is useful to focus on your process and not just your results. Let's think back to our example. The interviewer asked us to talk about our approach to cleaning data. They probably don't need to know the exact functions we performed on our data set, but they might be interested in knowing how we chose the right tools and what steps we took to make sure our data was clean and useful. This gives them more insight to our cleaning process and how we think about data cleaning in general. Your case studies are a powerful tool that you can use to enhance your resume, but you can also draw on them to help you outline your thought process and how you perform your analysis. Developing an elevator pitch and using case studies to highlight your skills as a data analyst to potential employers and recruiters can help you discuss your work more effectively with interviewers. Just like everything else we've learned, this is something that gets easier the more you practice. It's a great idea to practice beforehand. Try your elevator pitch out on a friend, or practice talking through your process with a trusted colleague. You'll get it down pat in no time. Coming up, you'll have the chance to practice sharing your portfolio in interviews. See you soon.
Hi, Jordan. How are you?
Hi, Sally. Nice to meet you. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, perfectly.
Awesome. Well, thanks for taking the time to meet with me.
Of course. I'm excited to meet with you, but it's a little nerve-wracking.
Well, nothing to be nervous about. This will just be an opportunity for me to get to know you and for you to understand a little bit more about this junior data analyst role and what it entails. So why don't we start off? Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Sure. I originally thought I was going to be a teacher, but life had other plans for me. I decided it wasn't what I really wanted to do with my life. So I took some time off and worked in retail for a bit. Then someone told me about the Google's data analytics certificate program. And I decided to give it a try. It was something different. It turns out I really liked the stuff and I was pretty good at it. So I decided to apply for the junior analyst role.
And what specifically drew you to data analytics?
I really like that it's like centered around digging into things and learning more about them and improving them. It's like working with puzzles, but when you finish the puzzle, you're helping companies make smarter business decisions. I mean, that's pretty cool.
That's awesome. I love puzzles too. And speaking of which, not all puzzles have a direct solution, and sometimes things can fall apart. Is there a time when you've dealt with a really difficult issue that you had to take ownership of?
Definitely. When I was a teacher, we frequently had issues with budgeting for things like school supplies and after school programs. We always seemed to run out of money because we were working with one budget for everything. So I rallied the other teachers together and we created budgets for each category, and that worked a lot better.
Oh, I can imagine that was really frustrating.
For sure. We had to figure out all ourselves because no one was going to fix it for us. And since no one was initiating it, I decided to take it on as a side project.
Well, I know you mentioned working with other teachers and in retail in the past. So for this role, there will be times when you're working with other team members and times when you're just by yourself. Do you have a preference, or what is your preferred working style?
I have experience working in both situations. I love working with people and collaborating, just like I did for the budgeting project and in retail. But I'm also really good at working independently and getting things done. After all, I was a teacher, so I created my own teaching plans and managed my own classroom. So I just try to keep an open mind and bring people in as needed.
Very good. And someone like you who is transitioning from a completely different field to being a data analyst, how would you adapt to that change if hired?
Well, though they're in very different fields, I think a lot of my prior experience would translate well in analytics. My ability as a teacher to sift through a lot of information and distill it down to what's important and easily understandable, that would be very beneficial as a data analyst when I'm explaining data and numbers to someone who might not like math. Working in retail made me really good at communication, and managing classrooms and difficult customers both made me really good at people management too. So I think these skills will translate really well as a data analyst.
Okay, great. And one last question, how do you stay motivated when you're working on a project?
Ooh, good question. So for me, it's the people I work with. I love getting to know the people I work with because that's what's going to motivate me to put in that extra time and that extra effort. It's because I know my work means something to someone I know. So that's what motivates me and keeps me going.
Excellent. Well, that's all the questions that I had. Do you have any questions for me?
Yes, I do. So what does a typical work week look like in this role?
So, good question. In this role, you would be working mainly with our technology teams and a couple of data scientists. We do have a stand-up meeting every Monday to go over important tasks, align on goals, and check everyone's progress. This company is really about open communication. So you'd be brought into different meetings and you'll find that you're constantly talking to your colleagues about all manner of things, especially if there's a deadline coming up.
That's good to hear. Open communication is always important. Can you tell me a little bit more about the day-to-day?
Yeah, for sure. So I'd say your job would mostly involve analyzing large data sets like administrative data, insurance, billing claims, basically a lot of different information. It's heavily dependent on the specific project.
Great, thank you. I like that there's variety depending on the project. Okay, one more question. What's your favorite part about working for this company?
Sometimes a difficult question, but I definitely love our team. I think it's a really smart and dedicated group of people who really love what they do. We're all very collaborative and respectful of each other, which is especially important when you're dealing with stressful situations or a problem that comes up out of nowhere. And I also really love how comfortable I am communicating with everyone, even stakeholders, and that really makes life so much easier.
That's awesome. I think it's really important for a work environment to be approachable.
Yeah, for sure. And when you realize everyone pretty much wants the same end goal, there's really no reason not to be cooperative and communicative.
I agree. Um, I know I said that was my last question, but I have one more. Can I ask what the next steps in this process will look like?
Yeah, for sure. That's where I was going to go next, anyways. So thank you for that question. We will be contacting candidates within the week and emailing a case study to solve. And we'll set up a second interview for you to present that. Obviously, we'll be looking for how you work, what skills you utilize, and just your technical abilities throughout this assignment. All of the details will be in the email that I send out. So please keep an eye out for that. And I look forward to our next meeting. Sound good?
Perfect. Thank you so much, Jordan. It was really great talking with you, and I appreciate you going through the details of the job.
Of course. Thank you so much for your time, Sally. It was great getting to know you. I'll be in touch, and I look forward to speaking soon.
It was great meeting you as well. Have a great week.
You too. Bye. All right, well, let's get right into it. We sent you a case study of a hypothetical scenario where a school needs to improve its communication with parents. And we asked for basically your top insights into how this can be solved. Can you take me through your thought process?
Sure. I just want to say this is such a great scenario. I really enjoyed working with it. And it's something I imagine a lot of schools have to deal with. So this is what I came up with. So here's the presentation that I put together, bridging the communication gap between teachers and parents for Creekside Middle School. So the background problem was that there was sporadic or non-existent communication between teachers and parents. So the solution that we're trying to come up with is to help the middle school design an app for parents to stay updated on school news and their children's classes and activities. But for our analytical goals, we had two. So the first one is we need to look into the why. Why do we want to create the app in the first place? And why are we interested in keeping parents informed? Well, we want to quantify the impact of doing that parental involvement on student test scores. And then we looked into the how. So once we decided we're going to create the app, what are parents interested in? What do they want to learn more about? So if we dig into the why first, this is what we found. We found that there was a downward trend where students' test scores have been falling since 2004, and that's a problem. And the reason is because parental involvement also dropped since 2004. Despite there being a 14 percentage point increase if there are parents involved versus when parents are not involved. So basically, we think the drop in the student test scores, because it correlates so well with parental involvement, that the lack of parental involvement is the reason why test scores are dropping. And so that's why it's really important for us to increase parental involvement to improve our student test scores. So that's the why. Next, we want to go into the how. What are the things that the parents would want to know about? So this data comes from a survey in which we asked students what kind of activities that they are involved in. And most student activities can be grouped into the following three categories: sports, academics, and extracurricular clubs. And what's interesting is if we looked at the news alerts that's sent out, these are the things that the parents are notified about currently, and broke it down from 6th graders, 7th graders, and 8th graders, we found that the 7th graders received the least attention. They had the fewest number of news alerts published. So what that means, these two data points, is that for number one, for the categories, we should create 3 tabs, or a way in which we can easily group activities into 3 buckets: the academic, sports, and extracurricular activities. And secondly, because 7th graders were the ones who had the least amount of attention, we would have the biggest amount of impact if we prioritize targeting them during our test launch. So in summary, based on the analysis that we did, the why we want to create an app in the first place is because parental involvement is highly correlated with higher test scores. And the how to best design this app. And when we build this app, we want to make sure the app has 3 categories or 3 tabs for each activity category. And we should prioritize a version 1 launch for parents of 7th graders. So here's what a timeline of events could look like. The first 2 weeks for analysis, and then we're presenting the analysis now, and then a good chunk of time where we can build the app. And during the testing and iteration, this is where we want to focus on the 7th graders, get their feedback, and then finally we can launch and open it up to all other grades. So that's how we can build V1 or version 1 of the app. But we always want to improve, right? So further explorations or ways in which we can improve for version 2 of the app is we can look at additional questions like, what is the impact of having multiple children enrolled in the same school? Does that help improve test scores even further? What's the impact of having one caretaker involved versus multiple? And thank you very much. That's all I had.
Well, great work, Sally. You've really covered a lot of ground for a short amount of time. And based on what you've examined, you understood the objective and captured who the client is and what they want, and used data and visuals that supported your hypothesis. Can you tell me a little bit more about what you would recommend as next steps?
For sure. My recommendations for next steps is twofold. One, we want to share these insights with the person or the team building the app, so that they can build an app for parents to easily move between those 3 tabs, the 3 activity categories. And 2, once we enter the testing and iteration phase, we should prioritize building for 7th graders for the biggest impact.
Great, well done. I really appreciate your time on this. I'll take a further look into your presentation and my notes, and I'll reach out soon with my final thoughts.
Thanks, Jordan. I look forward to it.
Okay, Sally, can you please tell me about a time when you dealt with an unexpected challenge at work?
Of course. In retail, all sorts of problems can show up out of nowhere, which I'm sure is the case for a lot of other industries as well. But there's this one time I was working in a store as a sales clerk, and an extremely unhappy customer came in. She was really unhappy about a recent purchase she made, an exercise bike, and demanded someone go to her car, retrieve the bike, and give her a refund. I explained that I'd be happy to provide a refund, but I wanted to learn more about what happened so we could potentially salvage the situation. So I asked her if there was something wrong with the bike. And she told me it was difficult for her to clip into and out of the bike with her cycling shoes. She was upset because she spent so much money on a bike that couldn't do what all exercise bikes should be able to do. But upon further examination, turns out she was wearing the wrong size shoes.
Oh yes, that is a problem.
Absolutely. We got her a new pair of the right size shoes, and to double check, I walked her over to one of our display bikes, the same model that she purchased. And I had her go on the bike to try it out. But she was unable to clip in and out of the bike as we expected. And then I noticed the issue. So the clips themselves were incompatible with the shoes. So this was a manufacturing issue rather than a user error. So I apologized to the customer, informed my manager, then called the bike manufacturer to let them know the defect right away. So they issued a recall immediately, and as for the customer, I offered her 2 options. One, we can take the bike back and issue her a refund immediately. But the problem with this is she would be without a bike, which is what she originally wanted. So number 2, the other option was to offer her a voucher for any bike in the store, as well as a free pair of cycling shoes that we ensured would fit into the bike clips. So after discussing these possible solutions with both my manager and the customer, she chose the second option. And the result was a happy customer this time who, despite coming into our store really angry, left the store extremely satisfied. And my manager was also very pleased because a happy customer is a customer who's going to return.
Wow, and what went through your thought process as you were trying to solve this problem?
Well, first I had to assess what the actual problem was. Did the customer simply not like the product, or was there a deeper issue that had a possible solution? After figuring out what her issue was with the shoes, I had to figure out the why. Why did her shoes not fit into something they were designed to fit? And after that was solved, it was a matter of coming up with solutions that would make the customer happy.
And is that typical for how you usually approach problems?
Yep, pretty much. Obviously, every problem is a little different, so I adjust my approach accordingly. Generally, I just like to use empathy whenever possible to understand the context, then find the root cause and map out a couple solutions to choose from.
Well, that's really great work, Sally. You use both critical thinking and problem solving abilities, which is what you need to constantly succeed as a data analyst. Well, Sally, we've been very impressed with you throughout this process. Although you have limited experience working as a data analyst, I'm really confident in your abilities, and I think your past experience coupled with your current certificate will make you an excellent junior data analyst. So with that being said, I would like to officially offer you a position with us.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Jordan. That's fantastic news.
Well, as we established earlier, this role has a starting salary of $50,000. And of course, you would be getting healthcare benefits, stock options in the company, paid time off, all of that as part of our hiring package.
Oh, that sounds great. Can I take some time and think about the offer?
Of course. I'm going to send you everything so you can take a more comprehensive look, and feel free to email or call me with any questions.
Amazing. Thanks so much for the offer, Jordan. I promise to get back to you soon with my answer.
Thanks, Sally, and I look forward to your response.
Hi, Jordan.
Hi, Sally. It's great to hear from you. Have you given more thought to our offer?
Yes, I have. I know this is an entry-level position, but I believe based on transferable past experience that I'll be bringing to the table, that my compensation should be higher than 50K.
I understand. And can you remind me what your initial ask was?
I asked for a base salary between 58 to 60K.
So with the salary that you're looking for, it is a little bit higher than the average. Can you tell me more about what skills and experience you feel support that range?
I understand. And I'd love for us to agree on a competitive salary based on the skills and experience I'd be bringing in. In terms of my experience, I'd be particularly strong in the communications department after managing difficult customers and rowdy kids. Furthermore, due to my diverse background, I'd be able to translate complicated topics easily into understandable snippets for others who might not be as numbers-based as I am. Those are the soft skills that I'd be bringing in. In terms of hard skills, I earned the data analyst certificate where I picked up the technical tools of the trade like SQL and data visualization. So that's why I believe my experience qualifies me to having valuable and transferable skills that I can bring to the table, which is more than what an entry-level analyst with absolutely no experience would be bringing in.
Well, I feel like that's impressive. And like I said, we think you'd be a great fit for this team. So we would like to meet you in the middle and offer you $56,000 with obvious room for growth.
I appreciate this offer and your willingness to be flexible. That's fair. So I'd like to officially accept the role of junior data analyst with your company.
Wonderful. Well, I will be sending you all the proper paperwork and get you started onboarding as soon as possible, okay? And you'll be an excellent addition, Sally. We're really glad to have you join us.
Thank you, Jordan, and I'm super excited to get started.
Hey, I'm Nathan. I'm a principal data analyst in the Trust and Safety organization at Google. At Google, I'm a member of an organization called VetNet, which is an employee resource group for veterans and Googlers who want to support veterans. And one of my favorite ways that we give back every year is through an annual resume review workshop. In the resume workshop, either virtually or in person, we have veterans or veteran spouses, come into the office, or we meet via video chat, and we go through the resume and really focus on impactful things they've done and how to make their accomplishments jump off the page and show really how awesome they are. Veterans in particular can have some unique challenges when it comes to translating their military experience to a really effective civilian resume. The first is removing military-specific jargon. The second is being willing to claim correct credit for the accomplishments that you did, because a lot of times veterans are going to always say that it was completely the team that did it. And then third is coming up with really good measurement of the impact of the activities that they did that they're showcasing in the resume. Just as service members have to communicate really clearly, work well as a team, and really exercise really good attention to detail, that's also the case when you're working as a data analyst. You can't know everything, so it's important to be able to work with cross-functional stakeholders in a very collaborative setting. And the best analysis in the world is worthless if you can't clearly communicate the recommendations and influence the stakeholders to adopt those. And of course, if you overlook some important details, that could also derail your analysis and your credibility in the eyes of those stakeholders. Attention to detail is critical. It's important to get some training. Of course, the data analyst certificate is a great set of training, but also just other courses, either on tools that seem interesting to you. It's important to think about what sorts of problems you find the most interesting, and then find data for those problems and do some analysis on your own. And that's a really high impact way of being able to get some great experience on your own that you can then talk about during interviews and even informal chats with people in your network. Why veterans should consider a career in data analysis is that they already have a strong foundation of being able to be really persistent while also remaining really humble. And that's super important as a data analyst, because if your ego is out of control, you're going to have big blind spots that lead you to make mistakes in your analysis. One of the best pieces of advice that I still think of to this day is that it's better to get speeding tickets than parking tickets. So what this especially means as a data analyst is sometimes you have to jump into situations that you're not totally comfortable, and you need to learn your way out of it and collaborate your way out of it.
Thank you for watching our video. We hope you found it helpful. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button below and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. If you know someone who could benefit from this information, please share it with them. We would love to hear your thoughts on this learning course, so please leave a comment below. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.